Good morning and welcome to the presentation of the study course in Communications and Computer Networks Engineering. Today we will try to give you a very quick overview of what is the course about and presenting both what's the plan for the study course and also what are the good reasons, in our opinion, to choose this course in case you have an interest in working on this specific field in the ICT field. The Communication and Computer Networks Engineering is a course that is belonging to the Collegio of Electronics, Telecommunications and Physics. And it is in some way the new way in which we deal with the telecommunications engineering. Let me introduce myself first of all. I'm Professor Fabio Dovis. I'm one of the teachers of this study course, and I'm also the reference person that is coordinating the work in this CCNE course. You can reach me at this email address. You will have it also at the end of this presentation for anything that is not clear, and if you want to contact me in the following days to get more information about the course. So what is CCNE? Well, it's the way in which you can study about whatever is connected to the process and transfer of digital information. We know that in our modern world, we are used to smartphones, we are used to any kind of communication technology, and we have to say that also the recent pandemic emergency showed how to be connected is now an essential aspect of our life. And to be connected means to have the possibility to use tools, to use equipment like smartphones that rely on networks, that rely on fiber optics, that rely on infrastructures that are able to convey the digital information from one point to another. But in order to do so, we need also to process this information. So to digitalize things from the analog world to the digital world in order to be able to transfer it through our modern communications. And we have also to consider that there are a number of even always growing applications that are being developed and that are, let's say, looking toward the future in terms of communications and applications that keep us connected. So in CCNE, you would address, if you choose to enroll for this Master of Science, many of these aspects and all the, let's say, knowledge you will acquire, the knowledge to deal with all these aspects. In fact, if we look at the study courses in the ICT field, we can say that starting from the bottom where we have the hardware, that is the physics and the electronics that is needed to build the equipment, CCNE addresses all those topics that are in between the physical layer and the hardware, and what is more the software level of the applications. So it's a fundamental link between these two worlds, because if we need the equipment and we need the applications, but we need also a way to put them now in connection and to make them work. The study course is organized in order to provide you for sure knowledge of modern communication system, but it's also providing you solid methodologies that we think it's very important, because the evolution of this system is quite fast, and so you have to get ready to deal with what will come up in the next years. We are all talking about the 5G technology that probably will be fully working and fully operational in the next few years. But we have to be ready already for the 6 or 7G, for what will be the communication of the future. And this can be done only if you acquire during your study course solid methodologies. But of course, we are also looking at the technologies and the modern technologies, and we hope that you will acquire all those skills that are not just knowledge of specific topics, but it's the ability to work with other people, the ability to deal and to work in an international and challenging environment that are appreciated when you will look for a job. So what could be, in a short summary, 5 good reasons to choose the communication and computer networks engineering? Well, first of all, the teachers that we have in this study course are not just teachers, are not just coming in the classroom to teach you something, but they are working as researchers, and they are quite famous worldwide because they are active person in research, and they are developing for research purposes new technologies, new solutions, new algorithms. And this is assured that what you learn is always, let's say, up to date. We have teachers that are very active in research projects, so they are used to work with companies, they know what are the needs of the companies, and they know what's going on worldwide. A second good reason is that there is a tight link with the industry. We have had in the past, and we will have a lot of opportunities for developing your final thesis or an internship in companies from the communication world, both in terms of providers or research centers that are working on advanced technologies for space, for communication, for digital TV, or for vehicular networks, and also in companies that are developing applications. We know that right now we might have for a few months some limitations in having these theses outside of the university, but we are confident that when it will be time for you that you are enrolling today, everything will be back on track, and we will offer you a lot of these opportunities. The tight link with the industry is also witnessed by the fact that, as you can see from these that are official data from the job placement monitoring of the students of the past years, you can see that 100% of our students get a job within 1 year. And actually, it's even less than 1 year, because they find the job within 5 months. I can assure you that we have a lot of requests from the companies for communications engineers. And they get a salary that is in line or slightly better than the average salary of the other students that got graduated in a Master of Science from Politecnico. So the students that graduated in the past years found a wide range of opportunities for their job, from companies to other universities or Politecnico itself, where they undertook a PhD, or other research center where they are working like researchers. And even in public institutions that are dealing with the standardization or other aspects related to communications at institutional level. There is a consolidated international dimension. This study course is fully taught in English, and we think that this is an added value, of course, for the foreign students coming from outside Italy, but also for the Italian students, because you are kind of getting an English free course while just taking the classes. And we know that this is a relevant added value when you look for a job in the ICT sector, because most of the work in this sector is done speaking English, writing technical English. And so if you get ready to deal with this word, for sure this will be appreciated even at your first interview to get a job. The fact that then we have about 50% of the students that are coming from all over the world make the classes in CCNE a very challenging and dynamic multicultural environment, also from a cultural point of view. In CCNE, we have several agreements with other European universities for double degrees or Erasmus periods abroad that, again, as soon as possible, will be reactivated. We have a lot of labs and experimental activities. More than 300 hours are devoted to practical training, because communication means also to be able to deal with wireless and optical systems, networking, working with real signals and process them. And we have several research labs that are also hosting the students for the experimental activities of the classes. Of course, also in this case, we have some limitations, but we have been able to confirm all the hours that are devoted to labs also for the next academic year, and they will be performed via a blended teaching, so with some people working in the lab and somebody from remote, or using digital twins of the equipment that we have. And again, as soon as possible, everyone will be hosted in the labs and do the practical experience. It's a dynamic and innovative teaching, I would say, because more than 50% of the courses are video recorded, even before the pandemic emergency. We have workshops, so the possibility to develop projects that are multidisciplinary, and they last 1 year and a half, so they cover the topics of several courses that are then interconnected. We are supporting several students' teams, but in particular a student team that is working with autonomous flight of drones, or another that is developing CubeSats, so space communication through CubeSats. We have a students associations, and anytime there is the possibility to promote and to help the students for the participation to hackathons or international competitions, we are always ready to do so. So to conclude, let me just give you an example of how communication is not just smartphone, I would say, and why it is so pervasive in many of the new applications that we have. If, for example, we look at something that might not be the first thing that comes to your mind when you think to communication, such as the evolution of farming, what is called now smart farming or farming 4.0. Here we have new concepts that are being put in place in which you monitor what you are growing through images taken from satellites. You need to have autonomous vehicle doing the job, or you need to process the data in order to retrieve the information that is needed, like if you have to put water or if you need fertilizer and so on. Well, if you look at this application in which you start from satellites, you go to autonomous vehicles, you have data processing, well, most of these things are part of the CCNE study course. And these are titles of courses that would be useful for an application complex like the Farming 4.0. So this is the very quick overview. you have the possibility to place some question now. Then I remind you that at 1:30 today, we will have a consultancy room in which we will have a couple of hours for all your curiosities. And if you have other questions, there will be another chance tomorrow. You can always contact me writing at my email. And I invite you also to join this chat. You see the QR code and you have the link here, in which there is the possibility to ask for more information about this study course and other Master of Sciences that are in the ICT field. And we will keep you also informed about other initiatives that we will have in a couple of weeks that we call the ICT Days. That might also help you to understand better and would help you, we hope, to perform the best choice for your future. So this concludes the presentation. There is also with me my colleague Lorenzo Galleani that is following the promotion. I see that we have already some questions in the chat.
So welcome everybody. My name is Lorenzo Galleani and I teach signal processing in the CCNE degree. Fabio, we have a few interesting questions. One is from Gabriele. He says that he knew about CCNE from Professor Pierluigi Poggiolini, but he doesn't see him in the course as one of the professors. So he wants to know, he's going to teach, Pierluigi is going to teach next year, and otherwise, how can he work with him? So this is the first question from Gabriele.
Okay. Well, Professor Poggiolini is also a very busy professor because he's in the board of directors of Politecnico. So he is currently not teaching a course, but there is a strong group in optical communication, and Professor Poggiolini belongs and also coordinated this group. So we have the courses on optical communications that are all taught by these people. Right now, Professor Poggiolini is not the teacher of the course in optical communication, but is still involved in the group, no? And so in this
Sure.
Study course.
So maybe
you can contact
Fabio,
him with the official email,
Yeah.
pierluigi.poggiolini@polito.it.
Maybe when Gabriele carries out his thesis, he can do that in optical engineering, and then he's going to have the possibility to work with Pierluigi, right?
Definitely. I mean, some of us are the teachers that you see in the classes, but there are other people in the field that are professors and can be your advisor for the thesis.
Okay. There's another interesting question from Shagayag. He asks whether we had a program for underwater optical communications.
Well, let me say two things. The first one is that, of course, when you study courses like communication systems or the courses on optical, you see also the system aspect. So it's not just a matter of studying the signals that are broadcast, but you also see now the system aspect and also the new applications. We have also some elective courses on open optical networks, so how they can be used for broadband transfer of data, of big data. So you see all the aspects related to optical communication overall, and taking the courses that are mandatory and selecting in the elective choices what you are interested in. If this is the field in which you want to work, you can know for sure more. On the other hand, as I said, we're teaching also methodologies. So being too much specific might be very interesting at the moment, but useless for your job in a couple of years. So it's very important also to learn the methodologies that are the basis, no, and they are valid, no, for the years to come.
Yeah. Excellent. So now another interesting question from Mohammed. He asks whether it's possible to have any in-person teaching, I think next year during the COVID-19 pandemic. I think this is the essence of the question, Fabio.
Okay, so for this, I'm sure that you saw also the official communications from the rector. Next year, in the first semester, for sure, we won't have any teaching in person of the theory classes, let's say. We have the possibility to have what we call the blended teaching. So part of some courses might be taken in the classes. This is for sure for logistics reason, because of course, as you know, there are rules that we have to comply with, social distancing, number of people, sanitation, and so on. But also because right now, especially if you're coming from abroad, you might not be allowed to be here. So the fact that we grant the fact that the courses can be taken online is also to your advantage, because maybe you wouldn't be able not to be in Torino in time, let's say, for at least the first semester. So there is the possibility, but we restrict this to what is really needed, like some labs or experimental activities that will be performed in person, but they will be, let's say, if you are not able to be there, you won't get any penalty, okay? There will be also, let's say, the possibility to follow them from outside.
Okay. Paola asks now whether there's any attention, there's any focus on sustainability and green technologies in our course. So maybe it's worth mentioning green networking or other things connected.
We don't have a specific course on that. This is in our courses something more related, or let's say more cross-layer among different courses, I would say. The example that I was doing during my webinar is something that, for example, we address as an example of where we could be more sustainable using satellite navigation technology and using ICT technologies. So, for example, in the satellite navigation course, we deal with these aspects, of using the technologies to make things more sustainable. I know that also, speaking of networks and green networks and networking for power networks, there is a lot of, let's say, focus on being sustainable, even if this is not a specific class in the Master of Science.
Okay, Mohammed asks what the background for this degree is. What do you need to know to apply to this degree?
Okay, you find on the website the specific number of credits that you had to achieve, to have achieved in your bachelor. Okay, so this is just a qualitative answer. Typically, there are no depths if you are coming from an ICT degree, so computer science, communications, electronics, because you have typically all the basic knowledge that is needed. If you're coming from mechanical engineering, probably you would need to have some complementary classes to be admitted, okay? But this is just a qualitative answer, and we analyze case by case what is your background according to the Politecnico rule.
Okay. Stefano
I think also that we are running kind of out of time, so
we are out of time.
I answered this question, and then
Last
probably
question.
we can then jump in half an hour in the consultancy room where we have more relaxed time to talk about all these things.
Okay, so last question is about the double degree program from Stefano. He wants to know whether we recommend going abroad for this, or maybe whether Politecnico is better for this, if it's worthwhile to go. That's the question.
The experience abroad is worth by itself, I would say, in the sense that you see a different way of teaching, a different way of working. So despite of the fact that you do more experimental activities or less, no? So we always promote this kind of double degrees. And we have to say that there is also always, let's say, a big competition, okay, to get the few spots that are available for the double degrees. We recommend the experience, otherwise we would not propose this to our students.
Highly recommended.
So I think that we can,
Yep.
I ask to the manager of the room if it is time for us to close the webinar. And I share once again just the screen with the contact information, so that if you are joining the consultancy, you should have received a link for this. We can talk in half an hour, even less. Otherwise, you can contact me and contact the people that are working on in the CCNE course at this, in these ways. Okay, then thank you very much, and we hope to meet you in the CCNE Master of Science.
Thank you very much.